Welcome to class. Starting out in a standing position and getting acquainted with how your body presents itself when you are standing. And just starting to bring your awareness to your feet and notice where your weight is being distributed and is it equal. So over these weeks we've been doing these standing Soma assessment scans and getting acquainted with how our brain arranges us. And we're standing upright in gravity. And what are you finding out about yourself in the way you stand and in the way you move? What are your little habits? Are you starting to put some pieces of the puzzle together that explains how pain or tension shows up in your body? So bring your awareness to your feet, back to where is the weight being placed. Is it different for you now? Has anything changed, or is something new presenting itself? What do you notice? And then how does the weight in your feet speak to the legs and further up your system? So if you're putting weight more into one foot, notice how it tightens the leg on that side. Notice how it tightens the buttock muscles, the glutes, the low back, and further up. So getting acquainted with here now, being present with what's showing up, what exists now. And is there a tendency to lock the knees? If there is, you just catch yourself and you ask them to soften. I often like to think, because I'm a knee locker, and what I often explore is when I notice I'm doing that, I'm taking my legs into hyperextension, I soften them, and then I imagine that I have heavy weights in my back pockets that just drops me down to relax. Because when I'm in that lock knee position and ready to go, I can feel that all the way up into my low back especially, and right up into right up to my neck, right up to the base of my skull. It's tight. So when you recognize these things, you have that ability to adjust, right? So you're always just self-regulating, adjusting. And then notice your pelvis. You're probably getting more familiar with what your habit is in the position of your pelvis. So what is neutral to you? Is the pelvis tilting? Is it tucking? Is it somewhere between so it can be in a neutral position? Or is it hiked on one side? So looking at it, we have all this information now that we've been building on week after week, and we have all of these little skills now to help us assess how we're standing, how we're moving, and how tension might show up as a result of our habits of standing and moving or sitting. And then just noticing, just like the pelvis, at what rotation do you feel the ribs? So how your pelvis is situated, how might that impact how the ribs are? If you're a leg locker like I am, you might feel that the ribs are, they tilt and they flare out. And if you are in, so that's more of a green light position. So if you're in a red light position, you might feel that the ribs are sinking down. So they sink down and the belly tightens and that low back curve disappears and the shoulders slump and the head projects forward. And then trauma, so notice if you're shifting your weight to one side, how that affects the ribs. Okay, and then just noticing further up your shoulders, your arms, your wrists, your hands. and your head. So take all of that information of what you're noticing here and now and come down to lie flat on your back. Get any support that you might need for the underside of your legs if you're feeling some back tension. And I'm just going to adjust the camera as you make your way down to the floor. So coming down to lie on your back. Water's in the way. Coming down in which way, whatever way feels right for you. And once you come down on your back, one at a time, begin to extend your legs. And then just give yourself time to let your body just settle into the floor. Adjust any wrinkles that might be distracting you. Clothing is bunching up. Hair getting in your face. The less distractions, the better, so you can really pay attention to what's going on internally. And then bring your awareness to your heels, noticing the pressure. And where do you feel the pressure on the heels of each foot? Is it the same on each side or different? Where are the toes pointing? Is it the same on each side or different? The lower legs, how do they make contact with, the surface you're on? Back of the knees, space, no space. Upper legs, how do they make an impression on the floor? And then moving your awareness up into your pelvis, go beneath your skin and connect to your sit bones. And draw a line from one sit bone to the other. And really pay attention to how your pelvis sits on that horizontal line. So noticing where the left sit bone is on that line and where the right sit bone is on that line. And is one side higher or lower? One side above the line or below the line? Or is it level? Notice your low back. Notice your low back curve, comfortable, uncomfortable, or maybe you don't feel a curve there at all. Curve or arch meaning same thing. How do your ribs meet the mat here? Shoulder blades. And very much like the sit bones, with drawing a line from left sit bone to right sit bone, what about drawing a line from left shoulder blade to right shoulder blade? Is one shoulder blade higher than the other, lower than the other? What do you notice? your head, the weight of the head. Where do you feel the pressure on the back of your head? And then shoulders, what is the space between the shoulder and the left ear compared to the shoulder on the right and the right ear? Is one higher or lower? Or does the space feel equal? How are the arms, wrists, hands, fingers resting? Is it comfortable to lie in this position, or is it uncomfortable? Are you feeling any tension, pain, or discomfort anywhere? Go ahead and bend one leg, then the other. Remembering to start out with a neutral pelvis. So heels not too close to the bottom to tighten the belly, and heels not so far away to arch and contract the back. Find that place in the middle. And think of there's lines, straight lines going from each sit bone to connect to your heels. But by all means, if it feels more comfortable to step the feet a little wider apart, go for it. Make yourself comfortable. One hand on your belly, one hand on your chest. And we're going to arch and release, and we're going to feel this expansion across this chest, and without moving the hands, feel the hands move further away from one another. So inhale, you're tipping towards the tailbone, letting the back arch, letting the back of the shoulders move into the floor, chin comes down to the chest. And notice how the hands they move away from one another. And then as you come out, just come out really slowly, melting the back bit by bit by bit. And then slowly just settling back into a release position. Notice if the jaw is tightening, soften it. Know if the shoulders are bracing, soften there. And let's inhale and arch. So pouring the pelvis bowl of water between the legs towards the heels, back arches, shoulder blades move down, chin comes to the chest. And the front, the belly is soft because the back is doing the job of contracting. We're going into green light. Pendiculating. That slow control release out. What is the release like? Is it smooth or is it jerky? If you're over efforting, hit the reset button and move more in a subtle way. So if you're bumping into pain, there shouldn't be any pain with these movements. But if you bump into it, you're starting to notice where sensory motor amnesia is showing up. So inhale and arch. Feel that beautiful expansion across the chest, the belly, and settling down. Now we'll go into the flatten and notice without even moving the hands how the hands come closer together. Take a breath in, and on your exhale, sink the back. Notice the abdominal muscles turn on. We're shortening the front. Let the shoulders pop up off the floor. Let the chin tilt up towards the ceiling. Notice how the hands came closer together. Now slowly release out. Can you control this? Like a dimmer switch, slowly turning off the contractions in the front of the body. So when you have muscles that are running on their own program and they're already contracted at a certain level, it can be so easy to go in and contract them because they've already started. They're already partially contracted. It's the uncontracting, the slow control release we really want to put a lot of attention on. Take a breath in, and when you're ready, on your exhale, sink the belly, sink the ribs, the chest. Let the shoulders pop up off the floor. Chin tilts up. So we're shortening at the front, we're contracting, we're coming into that red light reflex. Let the back relax, and then slowly move out. So what is the release like? Can you make it a slow, controlled release? And one more time on your own. And then go ahead and take your time in re-extending whenever you're ready to lengthen the legs out again. Just sense, notice, and feel. And we pendiculated the back muscles and the front muscles. What did you notice in your original scan, and what do you notice now? My body is going, wow, I feel great. That's just wonderful. So all movement starts from the center. So always remember in your somatic practice that we move from the center out. Go ahead and rebend the legs. And then let's take the hands, we're going to interlace them behind the head, setting up for arch and curl. And we're going to add in a hip flexor release as well. And a lengthened, one leg extended with an arch and a flatten. So we're going to dig in a little bit deeper into the arch and curl. So when you're ready, we're going to come into the arch. So inhale towards the tailbone, back arches, and just think of this as a luscious yawn. And then exhale, release. Remember to breathe at a pace that's comfortable for you. Now we're going to sink down into the flatten and curl up. So take a breath in to get ready. And on the exhale, sink the back, sink the ribs, sink the chest, fold the arms in, and lift the head up. So the more you're sunk down in your back and in the center, the easier it is to pick the head up. What's your experience? Place the head down delicately and then slowly open the arms. So this way we also get a pendiculation happening for the chest muscles, the pec muscles. Inhale and arch. Exhale, melt. Inhale to get ready for the flatten. Exhale, sink into the flatten. Fold the arms in, curl up. Now pick your left foot up off the floor and bring the left knee in. Just as far as it feels comfortable for you. We're just shortening the front, keep breathing. Shortening the front and lengthening the back. Now slowly release out with the breath. And try to put your foot and your head down at the same time. And now, As you slowly open the arms, slowly slide the leg to lengthen it. Inhale into a subtle arch, reach through the sole of the foot, flex the toes as if the toes are moving towards your face. Let the shoulders move into the floor, and then release out of the arch. Release the foot. Take a breath in, and on your exhale, sink into the flatten. Point the foot away from you. And then slowly release. Rebend the leg. Let's do that again. When you're ready, inhale and arch. And then exhale, just slowly release. Prepare for the flatten. Breathe in. Exhale, sink the back. Fold the arms and curl on up. Lift the left foot. Bring the left knee in. Shorten the front, lengthen the back. Pause here. Breathe into the back. Is there anything you can let go of? Maybe the buttock muscles are tightening, let it go. Maybe the low back muscles are tightening, let them go. Breathe into the space between the shoulder blades. And then breathe your way out, slowly placing the foot and the head down. Slide the leg long and open the arms up. Take your time. Think of moving like a sloth. Okay, let's rebend the left leg and we'll explore this on the right side. So inhale and arch. Exhale, just sink into the flatten and just fold the arms and curl up with the head. Leave the feet on the floor. Slowly release your head down. Open up the arms. Now this time we'll bring the right knee in for the curl. So inhale and arch. Breathe into that luscious space into the front of the body. And then release your way out. On an exhale, sink into the flatten. Fold the arms in, lift the head up, curl, and then invite your right knee in. And then slowly bringing the head and foot down. Opening the arms, sliding the right leg long. Inhale, invite a subtle arch in the back. Reach through the right heel, flex the foot, the toes come towards you. And then slowly release that out. Exhale, sink down into a subtle flatten here. Point the toes away from you. And then release out. Rebend the leg. One more time on your own. you've completed the right side, bring the arms out and then extend your left leg. Sense, notice, and feel before we move on. What did that offer you? And what is showing up in your system now? And always return back to the principle of less is more. If you feel like you are forcing yourself, if you're pushing too hard, if you're over-efforting, you don't want to over-effort any of this. Subtle. Rebend the legs, and we're going to speak to the trauma reflex by going into hip hikers. So I like to take my hands for this and place right on the ridge of my pelvis. So bring your hands to your fingers to your hips and feel the rim of your pelvis. And then I like to open up my hand and let my thumbs connect to my ribs. And with the hip hike, we're going to imagine that our pelvis is like a steering wheel, and the steering wheel is going to turn to the right. And so think of the pelvis turning to the right and hiking. So the right hip is going to hike up towards your right armpit. And so when I say hike, I don't mean arching the back and lifting it up off the floor. You're keeping the pelvis settled on the floor. It's just turning and sliding against the surface that you're on. So what's going to happen is the space between your thumb and the rest of your fingers is going to shorten on the right side. It's like almost like a snag in a sweater. And the hips coming up towards the armpit's coming up towards the armpit's coming down to the hip. So we're hiking the hip, shortening the right side, we're tightening the right side, and we're lengthening the left. So let's give this a go with the breath. So inhale to get ready. And on your exhale, turning the pelvis steer wheel to the right. So just let the pelvis slide. Invite the right hip up towards the right armpit. And let the head tilt to the right. Let it be involved with this. And then slowly breathe your way out. And you can keep your hands there, or if you'd like to, just allow the arms to slide along the floor. I like to come into a letter Y position with my arms, but it's not always available. So when there's restriction, you just bring the arms down to a height that feels right for you. We're going to hike again on the right, so take a breath in. And on your exhale, bring the right hip up towards the right armpit. Let the right armpit respond. It might want to move down towards the hip. And let the head just move along. Notice if it doesn't want to. And then release out. So think of inhaling and you're opening up this space that you contracted and shortened. Come back to neutral, breathe in. Exhale, shorten, right hip hikes up towards the right armpit. Does the head move or does it stay behind? What would it be like if you invited it to come along? Now stop here and breathe. Just imagine you can't breathe into the right side because it's short and contracted. You've got all this length on the left side to breathe in. Breathe in and out of the left rib cage. And then send your breath by inhaling, opening the right side up again. Now you may notice when you're practicing this on your own that when you go into the hike, the back wants to arch. So if that happens for you, do more of what the brain wants to do and arch. So let's do that. We're going to inhale and arch. So we're giving the brain what it wants to do, that habit that it's going into. And then exhale, release. So here you're reminding the brain that, okay, we did the arch. Now we've melted into release. That's where you want to stay. Let's take this hip hike into the left side. So take a breath in, and on your exhale, turning the wheel to the left. The pelvis slides along the floor. The left hip hikes up towards the left armpit. Does the head move or does it stay behind? Invite it if it does. And then slowly melt your way out. Does your back want to arch when this happens? So if you notice as you're doing this that the back wants to keep arching, you would just give it, pause, give it the arch, release, and it's just that reminder of stay in neutral as I go into the hip hike, because this is about the sides of the body. We're pendiculating the waist muscles. Take a breath in, and on your exhale, send the hip up, the left hip up towards the armpit. Notice how it shortens the whole left side as it lengthens the right side. Remember not to overdo this. And you just breathe your way out of it. And then let's go into another one. Inhale to get ready. Exhale, shortening the left side. So the left side squeezes shut. Now let's stay here, but let's breathe. Imagine you've just got the right lung and the right rib cage to breathe into. So breathe in and out of the right side. And then invite the breath to float back over to the left as you release out. Now let's go into an inhale and arch, and then we're going to simultaneously hike from side to side. So take a breath in, move yourself into a nice comfortable arch. And exhale, melt. Breathe in. Exhale, hike the right hip. Let the head go along for the ride. Inhale your way out. Coming back to neutral with the pelvis and the head. And exhale right into the hip hike on the left side. Left hip, left armpit. Inhale, release out. Come back to center. Let's invite another arch in when you're ready. Inhale, tipping towards the tailbone. Letting the back arch, letting the shoulders press into the floor, chin to chest. Exhale, melt. Breathe in. Exhale, hip hike to the right. Inhale your way out. And on your exhale, hip hike to the left. Repeat that one more time on your own. And if you don't need the arch, don't add it in. If you're enjoying it, add it in. And then when you're ready, when you finish that off, go ahead and extend legs one at a time. Bring the arms down a little closer to your sides. Sense, notice, and feel. What are you aware of here? Has anything shifted? Do you feel any difference in the way you are breathing? Do you feel any difference in your ribs? Go ahead and rebend the legs. And we're going to come back to that horizontal line between the sit bones. And go ahead and rest your hands on the front of your pelvis. I like to have them right at the front where I feel the hip bones. And start to press the right sit bone into the floor. And notice as it presses down, it lightens the left side of the pelvis. And then you're going to release that and press down with the left sit bone. So we're just rocking from sit bone to sit bone on that horizontal line. And you'll notice that as you do that, the legs will wag along. Notice if you're bracing in the upper body, the neck, the shoulders, the jaw. Let it go. Let the upper body be easy. Just resting here easy as you rock from sit bone to sit bone on the horizontal line. And then pause the movement, come back to center, and then step your feet out apart, wider than hip width. And again, just a little check-in that your heels didn't end up really tightened towards your bottom, and they're not too far away. You're maintaining that neutral pelvis. So now we're going to focus on the right knee, and we're going to let the right knee drop in as if it's reaching towards the left foot. So go slow with this, let it move in, and notice what happens. The weight starts to shift into the left side of the pelvis, left sit bone, and the right side lifts up off of the floor a little bit. And then bring that right knee out. We're going to do that 2 more times, but we're going to invite the breath now. Inhale as you tip the knee in. And can you let your head just tilt to the right? Exhale your way out. Or you might breathe the other way. It's fine. Just make sure that you are breathing. I always like to initiate the movement with my breath so I'm sure that I am breathing. And as you're doing this, you can let the left leg stay upright. So if it's wandering, bring the left leg into a stable position so the left knee stays pointing towards the ceiling as you move through this. So right knee tips in, head turns to the right. Rocking on that horizontal line. And then just go ahead and come back to stillness and take this on the other side. So the left knee is going to tip in towards the right heel. And notice just how the weight transfers into the right side of the pelvis. Keep the right knee pointing towards the ceiling. And then come back. Now let's invite the head with this. So release the neck. As you tilt the knee in towards the right foot, can you turn your head to the left? Knee comes back, head comes back. And it's the pelvis is just like a barrel of water swishing from side to side. So this is called the horizontal dimension of walking. And now we're going to alternate. So we're going to let the right knee tip in. Head goes to the right. Knee comes back out. Left knee tips in. Head goes to the left. And then we're going to start to let both legs move at the same time. So as your right knee moves in towards the left heel, let the left leg just move over a little bit. So we're just starting to deepen the movement a little bit more. And again, just focusing on that horizontal line, this pelvis, this barrel of water swishing from side to side. And as a result of that movement, it brings the legs along. Head moves opposite of the knees. And don't make it a big movement. It's not about how close can I get my knees on the floor. It's not that at all. So move in your comfortable, optimal range of motion. And then complete the one that you're on now and slowly come back to center. And slide the legs along one at a time. And just take a few moments to sense and notice how you feel here. And then go ahead and re-bend the legs. And then we're going to explore what's called vertical dimension of walking. So let's put our focus just on the right leg. Again, making sure your pelvis is settled. We're narrowing the stance between the feet so that there's a line straight out from each sit bone connecting to the center of your heels. Pelvis in neutral. So start to put weight into the left side of the pelvis. So we're pressing down, and watch what happens on the right side. So the right side starts to lift up. And as that's happening, can you let that right knee reach past your left knee? As if your right knee is trying to reach towards the right foot. And then slowly bring it back down. So you're coming right back onto that horizontal line. Again, shifting the weight into the left side of the pelvis and letting the right knee reach past the left knee. So the left leg's going to stay exactly where it is, left knee to the ceiling. And as the right knee is reaching away, it's bringing the right side of the pelvis up. And then slowly the right side of the pelvis comes back down and the right knee comes with it. So the previous movement, the horizontal dimension of walking, and this is the vertical dimension of walking. So it's how we're designed to move when we walk. So if you get stuck inside and can't get inside for a walk, you can simulate it by doing a stationary walk here. and we can pediculate at the same time. So let's bring the breath into this. As you exhale, reach the knee away from you. Weight goes into the left side of the pelvis, right side de-weights, and then slowly down. So if you were walking and all the weight's going into your left leg, your right leg is moving forward to take that next step, right? So it releases and it reaches forward. And then come back. Now let's take this into the left side. We will blend, but we're just focusing on one leg at a time. So the right side of the pelvis comes back down and it settles. And now start to focus on the left knee. Reaching the left knee towards the foot of your mat, letting the transfer of weight go into the right side of the pelvis, left side de-weights, and then slowly back down. Exhale, left knee, left side of pelvis lifts. Breathe your way out. And then one more time, and then we'll start to blend. So we're just sussing out and noticing how each side is moving, and if there's any restrictions on one side, if there's any discomfort on one side. And then let's start to blend the movements. So when you're ready, we're coming back to the right knee, moving forward. Feel how the right side of the pelvis moves. And it comes back down, and we release the left knee to reach forward. Left side of the pelvis lifts up. And it's just this back and forth, stationary gait of walking. So we want to be able to move horizontally and vertically when we walk. And notice that I haven't mentioned anything about the head. Notice if you're bracing it and holding it in position, can you let it respond however way it wants to? So let any pressure off that might be holding it in place, and let it be a part of the movement. Finish off the one that you're on now. And then just go in a gentle sway from side to side. If you uncovered some tension, or you had that tendency to force a little bit and it kind of angered something, just wipe the slate clean and just go into a gentle rock from side to side. Nice and free and easy. And just, if you're feeling like, oh, I need to come into an arch and release, or a flatten and then release, go ahead and take a few minutes to explore that. Maybe you want to come into the arch and curl. So just take some time here to explore. Listen to what your body is craving. Maybe you just want stillness. And then just finish up whatever you are doing. If you are moving, and extend the legs one at a time. You may already be there, you may not be, so just take your time when you're ready to get there. And sense and notice and feel what's present now. What does it feel like to be in your body now compared to the beginning of your class? And what have you discovered about yourself? What have you learned? And then go ahead and rebend your legs. You could pause this video and stay there, and then come back to joining in for the standing Soma Scan, important to come back to. And when you close with the standing Soma Scan, where we're just coming back to where we started and noticing what we feel in the feet and further on up the system. I like to give a little bit of a shake when I get up. Our pets do it. I always notice dogs when they get up, they do this shake. And I've adapted that into my daily living. And it's just a lovely way to fluff off some tension. We can learn so much from animals. So notice when you stand here where the weight is being placed in your feet. What are your knees doing? Locking, not locking? What is your pelvis doing? Tilting, tucking, tilting, or tilting, tucking, and hiking. And, you know, the ribs, has anything changed there? Arms, shoulder blades, head. What exists now? And then I invite you to take this into going for a walk and noticing what sort of movement you have through the pelvis. And can you connect to that vertical dimension, that vertical gait of walking, and the horizontal? How do you feel that? And it's always isolate each side, just noticing and focusing on one side at a time, noticing how each side moves, and then comparing them. So this concludes the class of this series, and wow, we've gone over so much, like connecting to our internal sensations as a soma, a living body, and getting in touch with something we often overlook, right? You have all the insider information of what's going on in your life, and as you move and how you respond to stress, like all the highs and lows in our life, where do you feel that in your body? So when something sad happens, you know, where do you feel that level of contraction? When something happy happens, where do you feel that level of contraction? And, you know, just your stress, the worry, the go, like, how does your body respond? And can you connect to how your muscles are responding? Because they have two functions only, to contract and release. So our brain is what tells them what to do. And we, over time, because we contract so much, that we can train them to stay contracted and they run on their own program. The brain goes off to learn something else and the muscles in the background are staying contracted. So it's this brain to nervous system connection that we're making through somatics to regain control, eliminate the sensory motor amnesia, eliminate your pain, and start to develop a practice so that you use this on a regular basis to help your muscles stay efficient and functioning optimally. So we're always going to have stress, right? And our bodies are so great in dealing with it and responding. We just don't want to be stuck in these stress patterns for long periods of time, because then that is when all heck breaks loose in our system. So if we pendiculate on a regular basis and our muscles start to become a little more forgiving, they become stronger, you become more resilient, become more flexible or freer in your body, so that you can do more and you don't have to stop, oh, I can't walk as good as I used to, or I can't run anymore. So the muscles, you can, what you've learned, what they've learned to contract into, you can unlearn that. So I hope you've enjoyed this series, and if you're interested in digging in more, because there is so much more to this, and if you want to address what your particular pattern is, or if you need more, come and see me, work with me privately. I've always got some great offerings going on, so reach out, connect, and let me know how this series has been for you and what you've got from it. I would love to hear from you. Take care and happy pendiculating. And at work, at home, at play, remember to bring somatics into your day.